It started like any other quiet evening in Baton Rouge, but nobody knew that within minutes, the entire city, and soon the entire church world, would be buzzing with one unbelievable story involving Pastor Gabriel Swaggart himself. According to multiple sources who were present at the scene, Gabriel was simply walking through a local street, heading toward a small shop for a quick errand, completely unaware that someone was watching him with an attitude that would soon turn explosive. Witnesses claimed that the moment Gabriel passed by, a man standing near the sidewalk made a teasing remark loud enough for Gabriel to hear. At first, Gabriel tried to ignore it, brushing it off the way anyone who lives in the public eye tries to do. But the man didn't stop. He said something again, sharper, louder, more disrespectful. And this time, Gabriel's calm demeanor cracked. People around them felt the temperature shift instantly. The pastor, who was known for his polished sermons, warm smile, and gentle voice, suddenly stopped walking. He turned around slowly, and for the first time in years, those who saw him said his eyes showed something they had never seen from him before: real anger. One witness said, Gabriel didn't explode at first. He just stared at the guy, like he was trying to decide whether to speak or stay silent. But the man kept provoking him, and that's when it happened. Sources say the man stepped closer and muttered something extremely personal, something that struck a nerve so deep that Gabriel couldn't hold back. The moment those words left the man's mouth, Gabriel's patience ended. He walked right up to him, face to face, and their voices rose instantly. People from nearby shops stopped what they were doing. Cars slowed down. Even pedestrians pulled out their phones, sensing that something big was about to happen. The argument escalated quickly. One moment they were exchanging heated words, and the next, the situation became so intense that even passers-by tried to step in between them. Gabriel, usually collected and composed, was visibly shaking. Not out of fear, but from the shock and disrespect he had just endured. The man continued taunting him like he wanted exactly this kind of reaction. Those standing closest said Gabriel kept saying, "Enough, that's enough," but the guy refused to stop. At one point, Gabriel pointed his finger directly at him, warning him to step back. It was clear that if someone didn't intervene, the confrontation was going to get physical, and fast. The entire atmosphere around them changed. This wasn't the controlled environment of a church, a pulpit, or a studio. This was the real world, raw and unfiltered, and the moment showed a side of Gabriel that very few people had ever witnessed. A side that reminded everyone that behind the pastor, behind the sermons, behind the cameras, he was still human, and sometimes even the kindest people reached their breaking point. Before things got out of hand, a couple of bystanders rushed between them, trying to push both men apart. Gabriel was breathing heavily, his jaw clenched, his hands trembling. The man who had started it all stepped back but kept smirking, as if proud that he had managed to provoke such a reaction from a public figure. One source said, "I've seen Gabriel preach for years, but I've never seen him like that. He looked hurt more than angry. Like whatever that guy said really hit him hard." Moments later, Gabriel walked away, still frustrated, still shaken, but trying to gather himself. People watched him go, whispering, filming, stunned at what they had just witnessed. Within minutes, the story began to spread online. Gabriel Swaggart snaps in public. Witnesses explain what happened. By the time Gabriel reached his car, his hands were still shaking. He opened the door, sat down, and closed his eyes, trying to steady his breathing. But no matter how hard he tried, the words that man said kept echoing in his head, louder and sharper than the moment they were spoken. It wasn't just teasing. It was personal, targeted, meant to cut deep. And it did. Inside the vehicle, Gabriel leaned forward with his elbows on the steering wheel, trying to process what had just happened. He wasn't proud of how close he came to losing control. He wasn't proud that half the street had watched him get pushed to the edge, but the worst part was knowing that somewhere, someone was already typing about it, posting it, sharing it, exaggerating it. For a man who carries the weight of a global ministry on his shoulders, the thought felt suffocating. Meanwhile, the crowd that had gathered outside hadn't dispersed. Several people stayed behind, recounting every detail of the confrontation. Some talked about the man who provoked Gabriel, describing him as someone who looked like he wanted trouble from the start. Others talked about Gabriel's reaction, shocked that a man known for patience and grace could be pushed that far. Within 30 minutes, someone who had recorded the argument uploaded a short clip online. It wasn't long or clear, but it was enough to show Gabriel turning around, pointing his finger, and raising his voice. Enough to spark conversation, enough to stir controversy, enough to make people ask what made Gabriel snap like that. Inside his car, Gabriel's phone kept buzzing, notifications lighting up one after another. He didn't want to look, but he knew he had to. When he finally picked it up, the first message he saw was from a close staff member. "Pastor Gabe, are you okay? Something's spreading online." Gabriel swallowed hard. He hadn't even left the parking lot, and already the storm had begun. He drove away slowly, looking into the rearview mirror at the street where everything happened. The sun was setting, but the tension inside him wasn't fading. He felt embarrassed, angry, and disturbed all at once. Not because someone had insulted him, he could handle that, but because he knew the world would twist this moment into something it wasn't. As he turned onto the highway, he replayed the man's words again, words that questioned his integrity, mocked his ministry, and insulted someone he deeply cared about. That's what triggered him. That's what broke the boundary he always tried to maintain. Back at home, his family noticed the heaviness on his face the moment he walked through the door. His wife asked him gently, "Gabe, what happened?" He hesitated, his throat tightened. He didn't want them to worry, but he also didn't want to hide it. "There was an incident," he finally said. "Someone said something I shouldn't have responded to, but I did." His wife touched his arm, sensing the conflict within him. "You're human," she reminded him softly. "Even pastors hurt." But Gabriel couldn't shake the fear that this single moment, caught on camera, would explode into something bigger. Something he wouldn't be able to control. Something the media would use against him, against his family, and against the ministry he had fought so hard to protect. And then, one comment caught Gabriel's attention. That guy didn't approach him by accident. Someone sent him. Gabriel froze. A chill ran through him. This wasn't just random teasing. This wasn't just a bad moment. This could be something much deeper and much darker. And as the night grew heavier, Gabriel realized something terrifying. This wasn't over, it was just getting started. Gabriel sat frozen for several seconds, staring at the comment that suggested something far more deliberate than a random insult. The idea that someone could have sent that man, someone with a motive, made his chest tighten. He leaned back on the couch, the phone resting on his knee as his mind raced through every possibility. Who would want to set him up? Who would benefit from making him look out of control? Why now, and why this way? He knew the church world wasn't always peaceful. He knew ministries had enemies, sometimes from outside, sometimes from within. But the timing was strange. Jimmy's death was still fresh. The entire Swaggart family was under a microscope. Leadership shifts were happening quietly but powerfully behind the scenes. And power always attracts pressure. Gabriel rubbed his forehead, trying to calm the swirl of thoughts, but then another notification pinged. This time, it was a message from someone he hadn't spoken to in months, a former SBN employee who left after internal disagreements. The message was short but chilling. "Gabe, be careful. I think I know who that guy was." Gabriel felt his pulse quicken. He typed back immediately. "What do you mean? Who was he?" The typing bubble appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Finally, the reply came. "Not safe to say here. Call me." For a moment, Gabriel just stared at the screen, feeling the weight of something far bigger than a street argument settling over him. He stood up from the couch, pacing slowly across the room as anxiety tightened around his chest. This wasn't supposed to happen, not today, not publicly, not like this. Before calling, he went to the kitchen and poured a glass of water, trying to steady himself. His wife stepped in quietly behind him. "You're not okay," she said softly. Gabriel turned, meeting her eyes. "Something's wrong. I don't think that guy today. I don't think he was random." Her expression changed from concern to fear. "What do you mean?" "I think someone put him there." His voice cracked slightly, the pressure showing. "And if that's true, then this is much bigger than a stupid argument." His wife reached for his hand. "Then you need to find out who's behind it." Gabriel nodded, though the thought scared him more than he wanted to admit. He stepped outside, needing the cool air, and dialed the number. The phone rang twice before the former employee answered, voice low, shaky, almost whispering. "Gabe, I'm only telling you this because I think you're in danger of being played." Gabriel swallowed. "Just tell me who he was." The man on the other end exhaled sharply. "His name is Tyler. He used to hang around someone who has a very big problem with your family, especially after the recent decisions at the ministry." "What decisions?" Gabriel asked. "Leadership, money, power. I don't know everything, but I know this. Tyler doesn't do anything for free. Someone paid him to push you. Someone paid him to provoke you. And someone wanted a reaction." Gabriel's blood ran cold. There it was. A setup. A trap. A calculated plan to make him look unstable at the exact time the ministry needed stability the most. "Why?" Gabriel asked, voice barely above a whisper. The answer came quickly. Too quickly. Because you're next in line, Gabe. And not everyone wants that. The call ended abruptly. Gabriel stood outside in the darkness, staring at the empty street, the wind brushing against his shoulders as if the night itself understood the heaviness he carried. Suddenly, everything made sense. The timing, the provocation, the camera phones ready before anything even happened. Someone wanted to damage him. Someone wanted to shake public confidence. Someone wanted him off the path he was destined for. And they had almost succeeded. But Gabriel wasn't the same young man he once was. This time, he wouldn't break. This time, he wouldn't back down. This time, he wanted answers. As he walked back inside, his wife saw something different in his eyes. Not fear, not guilt, not confusion. Determination. Gabriel knew one thing now. If someone wanted war, they had just awakened the wrong man. Why did Gabriel react like that? He sighed deeply and finally opened his laptop. If someone was trying to destroy his reputation, he needed to understand their reasons. He began searching for the man's name, Tyler, the one the former employee had mentioned. He found almost nothing. No public job, no clear social media presence, nothing that tied him to anyone. But Gabriel had been in ministry long enough to know that sometimes the most dangerous people are the quiet ones, the ones who stay hidden until they strike. And then, a knock on his office door. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't hesitant, it was firm, almost urgent. Gabriel stood up quickly. "Come in." The door opened, and to his surprise, it was his uncle, Donnie Swaggart. His face was serious, eyes intense, jaw clenched in a way